Hello, my name is Micaiah Stevens. Welcome to the Hamlet development log number 15. Work for a company called Haven Studios, and just some basic information for if you want to contact us. Anyway, so we're talking about a status report. We've been doing these a little bit. We're still on the 0.08 on the live branch, and then 0.10 of the beta branch. Hopefully we'll get through this shortly. Anyways, we finished up log 14 on May 13th. I think this information's much more correct than it was last time. We're just kind of doing these on a weekly basis, so this should be up on May 20th. We are starting these sort of, when we wrap this up. It might actually take a couple days for this one, but normally we wrap these up and start working on the next one. Anyways, so this will be on YouTube on May 20th, which is great, except we're sort of already almost into June. Anyway, so it's kind of a short step because we're sort of wrapping up a lot of things, kind of reorganize this a little bit, talking about the status in the Steam. We're talking about as few advertisements as possible. That's kind of the point. And then we got some topics. We just got this fun menu bug we'd like to show. And then a few other bugs and a live demo. So let's hope. So, fun menu bug is we were playing through the game. You can sort of see this is the development build of the version 0.18. We sort of updated the file for that. But as we were testing out the new menu, we kind of this on the top right, it will showcase. I think we'll see this when it goes in the live build. But that's not how you replay a video. Anyway, so when you move the camera and then you hit escape, it still continues to run the updates. So that's quite interesting. Where you'll see I'm not holding the keyboard down. Once the menu's activated like that, the escape key is pressed, and it should pause the action in the background. But somehow there's it's still continuing to run. So it's kind of a little funny. I didn't expect that, but then we ran through it a couple times. We haven't actually fixed that. It's definitely a lot of things to fix. And then so we can see our goal here is shipping. I think we don't have a lot of things. It's kind of a lot of in development stuff. It's coming soon. It's still in testing. It's kind of basically what we've been talking about. But the 0.18 is the plan. And then here's our back to our normal level. So let's get to the live demo test. That was it right there. Let's go full screen to sort of. We've been putting a lot of work on the outside. We still haven't fixed some of the menu things. I'm not sure this feels like not even full screen. Anyways, some of our menus you can still bring them up, and they have a little bit of problems. We can actually go into the adventure mode. We've updated the files, changed them a little bit. This is kind of that gray box that should slide across. We need to get that. That's actually. I think it's because of the camera. What we're doing, yeah, the camera's not updating for some reason. I think it's because we're working off a under this right here. We're working off this orthographic camera, and and I think it's just not quite happy. We'll have to figure out why that's the case. But yeah, there we go. Anyway, so hopefully we'll go through that. So one of the things we've been working on a little bit is this. We brought back the save system. We've kind of changed it a little bit. You also can't go back here because it looks kind of. Anyways, one of the things you can do is delete your save slot. And then it was never a question of why would you want to do that? Well, we've got this brand new sort of thing. 123 at 520, so it's going to go live in a few hours. And here we are into this new. It's kind of a personality. We're calling this the character creator. It's really early, but we just kind of thought that we were playing with this a long time ago. Obviously, there's a little bit of we need to fix some of the background issues here, but it's just sort of like, hey, and then this is sort of we can't change the personality choices. These sort of set up how the gameplay is going to work in terms of the storyline and the RPG aspects of it. We can select a character. We talked a little bit about character creation. This is sort of a really early idea of this, but it's just basically the idea of why create this entire character with all the stats and person and all these things when we just want to get right into the game. So really, the kind of one of the core things we do need to know is if you're going to be male or female. And we even support the unknown genders. Just so we can say when we want to be a male, and then this just sets up. This is not a like. This is not how the game is going to run. It's just gives us some basic ideas of what you want to. So we can now say from here it's saying, well, once we choose your gender, we can go rescue the prince if we want to. We can rescue a friend or family member. We usually like to say we're going to rescue a princess, just kind of the traditional dragon warrior. Oh, the princess is in danger, and then it says for why. We're going to do it because we want to get famous, and then it says your choices matter. So then once that happens, it loads into the game. It creates our little island creator. Sort of this runs in the island. We still have our old characters. We haven't adjusted that, and then you can see in the top right, this is telling you that you're in the starting Hamlet, and you can go back to the main menu. And then the main menu is a little borked at this point, but then we click on campaign, we can create a new slot. But now if we click load slot, oh, yep, something went wrong. It shouldn't. Let me see if I can reboot this. It should. Let's see. We'll click load slot. Let's blaze through this. Oh, we chose money, so it should actually. Huh. For some reason it's not. Must have made a change. Anyways, we're trying to get this to save the data, but apparently that's not working. So, oh, and then hey, now we actually get a female character this time. I don't think it's because of the choices. It's just how it randomly chooses, which is kind of what we're linking up right now. So, yeah. So this is kind of just it's still mostly trying to focus on the world aspects of the game, and then which is kind of where we're at right here. These are the RTS sort of campaign, or sort of the ability to look around and. I don't think you can select a character. Well, you can sort of can select a character now, and then we can actually increase the time. We talked quite a bit about this. Yeah, so now we have a downtime. I think we've adjusted this so it's just based on a schedule now. So and it might actually shut down, but as soon as we hit the 8 hours of downtime, which is kind of what it's programmed for right now, and it seems to pause a lot because of. So now once we're finished our downtime, we go to move time, right into work time. We are now working. We need to bring up the debug about where our time ticks are. So anyways, we'll go through a work time of 8 hours, I believe, so about 16 or so. I think it's pausing every so often is why it seems to stop. But yeah, so anyway, so we get through the finish of our work time. We haven't actually ran through the entire, and then we go back to a move time. I think it should switch into a chat time here pretty soon. Yeah, it keeps pausing, I think. Oh, back into a work time. Interesting. It should go into like a chat time. And then once we hit the move time, and then goes back into a downtime. Hopefully. Yeah, back into a downtime. So we got a lot of ways to go. We definitely are trying to adjust that. I'm not sure why. There we go. That's what should happen. Third time's the charm, right? So now we're not saving the world, saving the character, saving anything like that. We're just sort of trying to get this idea of the ability to save data and load it in. It's really tricky because there's a ton of data in the background. It's we have the just tons of social and kingdom aspects that are being built. So. And then bottom left we can see what slot we're in. A lot of this is just debug information. This is a brand new debug information because we were concerned the scene wasn't loading on the build. So now we can actually run a build of this. And it depending on how it works, it should... yep, there it goes. It should actually... it was not building before. Part of it is because we didn't. Did I actually? I think I set this up correctly. Hopefully, it wasn't loading the world, so we wanted to see are we actually in the correct scene, and it was hard to tell because we took off a lot of our old interactive scenes. So there we go. So here's our brand new, from a few months ago now, and then goes back into here. You can actually still go right into adventure mode. Interesting. Which opens up a. And then we can actually hopefully load the slot. Yeah. Oh, it might be because this actually loads in a much larger world, but then it might not recognize that through the map settings. So that could be some of the problem. But you can actually delete. Well, we can actually go to create a new slot here and then load this slot. And okay, it should have actually kicked off the. Let me create a slot here. Sometimes because we're loading. Yeah, so it's obviously not quite as cool as it should be. And then yeah, so we can actually, yeah, there we go. Now we need to get a lot of the information back up again, but there's a long ways to go. Oh, and you can't quit from here for some reason. I'm not sure what's blocking the quit menu. And then you can barely see we need to fix a lot of that. And then now you can quit from here. So yeah, it's coming along pretty good, but we have to let's see. Oh, this is is this all part of the Haven game 4.0? So this is a new this is with the dots. You can see dots. Holistic actually has a really interesting world example with the Perlin noise we've been working with. Code Monkey has this new Marines and Zombies theme we've just been working with. SK Code actually has a really cool RTS system we've been, we're learning off of. This is actually in 219.3 basically, but it's not out yet. But it also includes the visual scripting, so we can see a lot of visual scripting with the visual scripting here. This is actually it's the 219.2 alpha, so it's like it was just released on Monday, or just a few days ago, I want to say. Not this Monday, but last week. It's been out for just a few days, and we just got an early preview of that and testing out. It seems to be pretty stable in terms of the visual scripting is not stable, is semi-stable. That's why they're putting it out there. It's got a few known issues. But it's the 2019 or 2019.2 has actually been quite stable for us. ECS is a little bit buggy. We don't have a demo of that for you right now. But so it's a part of the thing is like and we'll talk a little bit about the next couple design docs of where we're trying to go with this concept of the ECS. And the dot stack system. Dots has included the burst compiler, the job system, the ECS, the ND component system itself, and I think there's another. I don't remember if there's a fourth pillar of that dot stack system, or dots itself could be another using the physics. So there's a whole slew of new tools that are coming out. Part of switching over to 2019 was because we wanted to use the 2019.3 should have this new UI editor, which we're really looking forward to. But it sort of was the performance booster what we're looking for, not with ECS and burst and that sort of thing. But part of the thing too, we realized one of the big decisions we sort of made along quite a while ago was if we were going to go to we were on the Unity 5.67. Was that if we were going to go down that route, we were sure that we were going to focus on, I just wanted something to showcase in the background, but we were going to focus on what we have now and what kind of game we're focused on, because we know it's going to take a couple years to put this game together. Even though it's a very small game, we realize that if the more technology we threw at it, it would take a lot longer. So we're learning ECS because as a programmer you always have to be constantly learning and figuring out new things and developing technology and ideas for the future. But that's probably not going to be part of the Hamlet system, where it's just going to be this mini gameplay with the character and a small Hamlet world, which that's kind of why we felt that was the better focus of the game. We might include some of the job systems maybe at some point, because you don't have to use ECS. You can use the jobs threading and the burst compiler and some of the new 2019.2 code, but we're not going to use ECS, I think, until it feels like it's in a really good stable position. Right now, it's hopefully they've worked through a lot of what they're doing now, and they're not going to do a refactor or rechanging of everything, but it's probably going to go through a few more stages of that. And we're already working on sort of alpha software. Now for our main game, we're on the 2019.2. We can look at the hub here. I also changed hubs, so it's like we sort of have to, we don't like the new changes here because it's like we don't get this list of things anymore, and it's like instead we get this like, now it's like I haven't seen an update yet here, but it's like, and it doesn't even include the 5, 6, 7 here, but it's just like this is like a tab, and it's just like you can see here's the 2019.2, the A14 alpha. And it's just like a package that similar to the 567. But here's the 2019. We're on the beta version. Seems pretty stable, but now we can't see any sort of updates or any sort of changes to that. And it's like it's just really maybe there are. This is long-term support. Yeah, it's like why are we having a long-term support of the 2.5 F1, now it's a 2.6 F1, so it's like, it's really bizarre, it's like, a lot of people are just doing these, it probably makes it easier for them, but it doesn't make it easier for us, and that's usually what people tend to do. I mean, I appreciate the new sort of, but one of the things I really would love to see here is over here, I can't click, like this little like button is like this little tiny button. I've worked with a lot of these. It's like you click on this, and it's like this is an entire button, and it would load the project. But if I want to click on here, it's like it's not, and also now it's like barely. But it's like that's all you get is this show. I would love to say remove this project, or right click and say remove. Like here we're in 2019 and we can't even right click anyway, so I guess I'd probably it's like a lot of these things are not better in a lot of aspects, plus too there's no dark GUI, so it's like they're not making the products better. So what do you want? Oh, it's like, do I have to click here? No. Oh, I have to click back here. Wow. It's just so it's definitely, so I'm kind of I would have stuck to the 5, 6, 7 for a long time, but here's this is so we're focusing on the 2019.2. When that sort of 0.3 becomes more stable and it's even be released yet, so we're on this is the beta version, the latest beta version, and that includes the packages is kind of where it's more at now. These are just the basic packages, TextMesh Pro. Unity UI is some sort of new UI system. I'm not sure exactly what the extent of this is, but it's not. But and then anyways, we also have the Visual Studio Editor, which is what we love. So Visual Studio Editor is pretty cool. We still this is actually with the yeah, this actually was, this is actually really nice. The roaming extension managers, we talked a little bit about that. It's like that's an improvement to the product. We actually were really excited to move to 2019 for the roaming extensions, where it's like now hopefully I can go to 2020 and then just have my file differ here, wherever it is, compare files or whatever it's called. I think it's called file differ right here. So hopefully this will roam with me to 2020. That's good improvements to the product. That's amazing. But which is kind of like sort of what's the someone who was talking about, oh man, this are they going to ship the product? And it's like, I'm like, well, I don't know, but I'm like, well, it was like, I don't remember what it's for. It was for Unity or Unreal or something. It was one of those major projects, and it was just like such a downhill cycle. But then it was like, my response was, well, if I ship my product, this is kind of my first major huge project that I've been working on for a very long time. It's like, if I ship this, then that's, then I can start talking about, shipping a product. That's part of, I think that's why we've been delayed for this I should kind of maybe find a date for this, when we shipped the point 10 to the beta branch at least, and then now it's like, and we could be on version point 2, the point 20 version right now, and how long it's been, or the 20 or the 30 actually. We've when we switched over to the game engine, well, it's not it's the game engine version 3 is where we're at right now. Is the core concept of where we're at, and that was switching over to 2019 from the version 2, and then we upgraded it with the changes that we talked about in the last couple of months, or last couple of 2 weeks, I think, about using the world and the characters. And we need to get back to the main. I think that's one of the next goal this week, is to put these old characters back in, get their old animations hooked up, and make it feel like we're actually shipping back to this current build right here. So we'll put the characters back in. I don't think items and inventory and the tree and the house will make it, but the rest of it should fit in. But that's part of the problem of why we have delayed for so long from the beta branch, is because we're sort of not shipping. We're not ready to ship this again, and so it kind of feels like we're going back. But I think that's the plan, is to push out the point 10 to the live branch, and then point 18 on the beta branch, and then we'll work from there. And then as we improve, fix the menu bugs, we're fixing quite a few things. And we actually made an improvement, a slight improvement with the saving of the data. We need to sort of find a really good solution to that, and then we're not going to. Part of the saving of the data, though, the main core function of why the data saving is going to be the last thing, because we don't want to support file formats, save formats. Like, we don't want to be like, oh hey, I have a character, and that's part of this. Maybe this is when the game is like, when it goes into this alpha stage of the game versus the pre-alpha right now. Then we might start saying, okay, now you can start playing the game, and we'll support your character being brought in. But I don't know. That's going to be a hard press to figure that out. But getting that stand, and that's part of this, is the discussion of this, is that point 18 plan. So at some point we'll have a more playable version of the game that gets back to hopefully this core thing. And as part of the thing, we are including. It's hard to showcase. We talked quite a bit about this. We are including this new. This is actually nice because it splits off the CodeMonkey. Like, we actually CodeMonkey updated to the 2019 ECS system, so we're gonna have to think about that. I don't think we actually use the sharp extent scriptables anymore, because we have rolled our own system, and we've rolled our own data system as well. Through the game data. We even brought in the items list again, and stuff like that. So. And then, yes, we have our own scriptables here. These are actually new scriptables. Maybe we'll talk about those at some point. And so we have this item database and the crafting. These are really cool, I think. Let's see if I can find as part of the data layer we have now. Right here is this. So you have this item database, right? You come in here, and now we have this iron, which is like a piece of, an ingot of iron, and a diamond. So it's like a shiny diamond. And you got the diamond axe, the iron axe. We need to add in a little bit. This is a little bit more detail to this, which include the rarity. That's one of the pieces. And then these are sort of stream files right now. That's the item name is the diamond axe, and we need to. And then the item is this diamond. I think this is it's just the view of the project. Is there a way to showcase this project? This is basically working with the. This is called the Craft World. It's it's part of the game grind. It has this little test world, so you can see here's the diamond ore. It includes the diamond. I think we didn't want to call it diamond ore or any stuff like that. So anyway, so you can drag and drop this. We're not quite that. There's a few bugs with it, but then we should be able to get this iron axe. But it sort of has now. And I think if you take the iron axe, obviously, and then put a diamond in it, then it should give us a diamond axe. So it's kind of a little mini. It's got quite a few bugs with it. We've Come on. Yeah, so it's kind of an unstable version right now, but anyway, so it's like definitely just playing with what he's been doing and sort of reworking it for us. So, but that will include, if you look under the data here, you can see that includes the data of the item, which are the values, and then you can see I think a diamond is like has this value of 2500, which includes a max value. Does it show it here? It doesn't show the max value for some reason. I think that's just because it's like a internal value, but that's sort of like this. This is a int max. It just gives us a zero value, and we're actually thinking about we actually now need a min value as well, because normally the min value goes from 0 to 100 as the base, and then now we kind of need this idea that the min value of a diamond ore is going to be like 500 to 5,000. 5,000 is our cap right now. These are meaningless numbers, but anyway, so it's like it's kind of really cool because this is a new sort of updated, and then here's the craft recipes. So this is what determines what craft recipes we have, and then it's just like the diamond axe is pretty cool. So where is the diamond axe? Oh, right here. This is actually sorry, this is a diamond, and it makes a diamond axe. So a diamond axe, or see a, oh, did I do that wrong? Is that why it should actually, I think it actually, oh, so a diamond actually makes a diamond axe. Anyways, that may not be the correct way to say this, but this is a diamond axe. Yeah, so it should say diamond axe is crafted from a diamond, so obviously there's something wrong there. Yeah, so it's item to craft. Oh, that's because we were wanting to convert it the other way? Yes. Anyway, so then you can see a diamond axe is actually, the required items is an iron axe and a diamond. And then to get an iron axe, it's just supposed to be a piece of iron. Yeah. So obviously this is a little bit of, my own, it's not Game Grind's fault, it's kind of my own fault for sort of trying to rework his entire system and working it. So he uses IDs and I don't like using IDs, so rebuilding that sort of system, and that's kind of like this future kingdom system. It's talking about a little bit of IDs. Do we have the other thing too is like the other thing about the Hamlet is if you kick off this, it actually loads in the slot, and we want it to, so it's like that's one of the things also too is we're putting this data piece here. We're trying to avoid, because that would slow down testing if we have to reload all the items and stuff like that. So yeah, the game choices, is this there's a lot of little things out there. Oh, I think this okay, this is just like how to, yeah, this kind of a little bit more better example of, what it should look like, but that's kind of, and it's sort of just testing that system. And let's see, there's probably, the item tester is actually pretty, I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, the item tester is sort of an interesting example. It just runs through and is creating all the items. So we usually don't run these in full screens, but here it just went through and created all the item templates. And then, oops, obviously it's not as working as well as it could be. Yeah, because it should be able to should created a ton of items. So, but that's sort of this idea of we're sort of trying to generate a ton of items off on its own. And then there's the crafting world, the character. Sort of a lot of these are just kind of future test ideas. That's and I think the node world. Yeah. Oh yeah. We were talking a little bit about this last time. The node world is sort of this idea. A lot of it's just ways to test. Not sure why that's purple now, but anyways, just test out these various little pieces of data. So we've been working a lot. We basically work on this full time, 24/7. But it's like we don't force ourselves to work on the 0.18 update. We're not just like everything we're doing is pushing out the 0.18. That's the goal, but we sort of and we fixed quite a few of the bugs. We actually put a lot more time into that this week than we originally intended. And it sort of depends on what sort of stuff we're learning and what sort of things a lot of this too, some of this craft world is sort of where this project gets a little bloated, where it's like you have the items and then the characters and stats and modifiers and equipments and And then 2 are sort of changing that around too in some of those things. Um, but yeah, and then we have to get the characters back online. So, which these are part of the oh, the trees are actually not included. These are different trees actually. They're part of the original testing example of a different. That's sort of it. We like, oh, we have we have like 17 different trees, and it's sort of like where we get back to say, well, this is our lowest polygon tree, but it feels like it fits a lot of requirements. That it's sort of tile-ish square space, and it's got this really interesting leaves, and we can size it a lot easier versus our there's another tree. Let's see, I guess we here. Let me. Yeah, acid star. There's another tree. I think. Hopefully we can find it pretty quickly. Um, yeah. So I mean, this is kind of nice about some improvements. Like now we can actually search for free trees, as our price is including the free trees. So now we can search, a lot easier on the assets that we're looking for. So and you used to be able to do that in the editor, and then they took that away. But there should be I think it's this tree. Yeah, it's this tree. So this is the tree our second favorite tree is this tree, where it's like we still get the tree stump, and then the tree can fall over, and it looks a little bit more real, like a conifer or a fir. It looks a little bit more realistic, and it's sort of this is a 3x3, which is sort of okay. Same as this tree. This is it fits in a 3x3 tile, so we've been thinking about that, which is kind of another aspect that we're getting to is of the house, like a 3x3 house is also as well. Like even though the walls fit or kind of a half tile, a quarter tile, whatever, we're still going to call this a 3x3, and then with a door entrance here, and then you go into the house. It's so that's kind of one of the future things we want to work on, but it's becoming a little bit and one of the projects we actually been. Let's see if I can showcase this project somehow. Let me give a really awesome shout out to this guy. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's called Elias, his name. So we spent a lot of time working with some of his what he's been working on. So this is a entire, which is he actually has this entire demo and sort of a different menu scene. It's kind of I think this is the menu scene. Yes, this is like a completely different menu scene where I think you just hit E. Anyway, so it's definitely it's quite a bit different through these controllers, which let me. Unfortunately, he put out about 50 devlogs, and then I haven't. He sort of was. There's a slight problem with Visual Studio not communicating, but here it is right here. So what we want to do. This is actually a pretty great YouTube. We spent this weekend. Here, let me mute the. Yep. I think it's already muted because of various. Anyway, so here's it's called Alias Nerd. Oh no, people made comments. I shouldn't pull that up because it could be it could be actually him. So it actually has this really great preview, but it's 11 months old. But you can sort of see, and this is kind of one of the things we want to talk about. He's talking about here where he's working on the same thing, but it's a 2D example. And this is let me go back. This is kind of what we're talking about. Here's a 3x3 room where you enter in the room, and then you have this tile here is what we're focusing on, and then you can move to the left or you can actually move up and down. You don't get a lot of space in these. You actually this is kind of a little bit. You actually could move this way and then move over here, and maybe we'll have a 2x2. But you can actually see the bed, and we talked a little bit about the bed last time. So that's one of the things. He's using a 2D example. Let's see, does he actually? This is actually a pretty cool example of the game. Here's this sort of same. It's all in 2D, and then he it's kind of a Zelda sort of. We're just sort of doing a 3D example of the game. And then here, let me see if he's going to walk into the house, and then he actually does a separate scene, I think. and then he actually has more of a free walking system. But it's pretty cool. And then he has health and keys and various items and stuff that he's working on. He uses tiled as well, so we've been thinking about a little bit of world building, which is kind of what the next two design. Actually, the next three design actually now that are going to be talking about this RPG design, where it's going to talk about the main focus is the RPG design, and then it's going to go into the world building. Then it's going to go into dungeon building, and then we actually are now planning out to work on this item building, because that's part of the thing here. Is like the items in this game is kind of the clock, and maybe some of these things are sort of cosmetic or don't do anything. But in our game, every single item that we place in the world, if we see a clock, we want to be able to look at that clock or click on it, and it will tell us what time it is. We want some sort of functionality with everything. Maybe you can't click on the windows and look at them, but they're sort of aesthetic in that respect. But yeah, and then he has this example of you can, and then the other thing too I thought about this example here is like, he enters in the house, which is great, but then it's like also in some games you can actually click on the well, and then you can sort of shimmy down the well, and it opens. There's actually quite a bit of dungeons. He has some examples of dungeons where he wants to build dungeons at some point, and he has this really awesome water effect too. That's sort of animated water effects, and he has dungeons. It's definitely really cool, very fun. Almost 48 really fun videos of, and here's trees. He has 2x2 trees that are sort of that are almost 4x4 in terms of the space they take up. But he has 3 houses. But he has a free aspect character. I think it's really cool. It's like the aesthetics we're going for, but not from the 2D look. We're going for more of a 3D gameplay. That's going to be a lot more 3D, like pure 3D, which is kind of like this is what this is going for here, and then in the starting world, which is part of. As you can see, this is really nicely split apart now that I can just go into here. Here's all the Hamlet 3.0 data, which is kind of that. It's Game Engine 3 is what it signifies. But then I can boot right into my world. Oh, no, apparently not. Boot right into my world. There we go. Double click. And then I can start running through and testing out, and then seeing, how fast this loads. And part of it, I think, is this loading the character? Part of this is loading the characters, what's loading the world around itself. And then we sort of reorganize this, and now we can see here's this active character, Kevin Axe, which is all. It's last names are based on these ideas, and then this actually comes up with Terry Wool. So you can see this is what the schedule is, what he's working off of. Yeah, but the zone loader is what's loading that. And then he's got a lot of various. We talked about the unit geo. And then he should have a game into geo. Yeah, so this is, I think this is kind of a somewhat problem where it's like when it generates the entity, it sort of generates the name for the entity, and that's sort of not what we're trying to accomplish here. So we have to obviously fix a few things here. This is part of their colliders, which I think this is their interact collider. So it's like, which is right here, or one of these colliders. And the zone loader is what decides what zone. That's part of the thing where sort of we need to look at a little bit is this is a certain world size, but then the zone loader is loading this, and it's like, how do we get this loading the correct size that we're trying to do around? And it's like, why is the zone loader 32 by 32, but then tends to load in this weird? It should be loading around the character. So there's a few things in. I think it's great. It's really nice to work off of this new version, which should stay at version 3 for a while. We're pretty happy with that. We might have to cut out some of this external things, but a lot of these too are, we worked on this separate project for a while with Elias, and it's just sort of like, the thing about that is like, it just like looking through that, watching all those videos, watching how he designed things, and then you sort of follow along a little bit. Um, but then we come up with like the game meta is actually this is kind of a new game meta from his point of view, but it's like you can still see that we were talking about this bed rarity before, and now here's that sort of we just rewrote the system for here under his thing, and sort of like and some of his design ideas. But we were kind of thinking about it for us, and now we have this player data, and you can see this is like our player data here, even though it's under hit. This is like before it was like we rewrote a lot of this player data that now would so we can see that we're thinking about armor, and we have these various the helm, the chest, the legs, the arms, the main hand, weapon, shield, and amulet and rain. We might want more accessories, but that's sort of for now is just like that RPG element. And then this is the rarity. We sort of lessened the rarity a little bit, but it's just common, so it's like we get some rarity, and then you can sort of see that the armor type, we have this bag type, which is sort of, is there a way to say, do we show this yet? Let's see, find all references on the bag. Do we do this? I think it was just a concept piece, and then we have this other item. This is actually not even including in the new item from the Game Grinds items, which are pretty cool. And he's back on YouTube, so that's really awesome. But yes, right here of the bag type of the rarity. Oh, okay. This is the get. This should be get bag rarity. So my bad. This is the idea of the bag rarity, that there's if you have a no bag, then you have 0 slots. If you have a common bag, it's like a pouch. You can think of this like a pouch, and then you have this bag, and then you have a pack, and then you have a backpack, and then it's like then it goes up to a bag of holding, of holding. So it's kind of like this idea that your gear is going to be based on this. And then too, it's like when someone produces a bag, it's like they work on a few common bags, and then they can build up to this legendary bag of holding that it's going to take a long time to build up the skill. And then the bag of, it's like a 12 slot backpack, and it's sort of like similar to World of Warcraft, where it's like they have that scale of bags. That's kind of what we're just sort of abstracting this out to a very simple concept of the bag types just being this simple, bag type of rarity, and then this is sort of like what you're carrying around, and we're thinking about, and then this is the axe type, is like we're for chopping down trees, but then we're kind of thinking about this equipment type as well. So you can see this is valid, checks, eliminates the none and the count, none and count for various things that sort of, and then we just tell it and we just add in the armor type. This is the list of equipment, and then we have this is going to be eventually the armor type and the rarity. So you can see and then you can sort of see that here with this is actually going to be the rare diamond axe, is kind of what we were talking about a little bit before. So we are working on a lot of, and this is kind of an overall system that we're just sort of redesigning, just try to get it a little bit more simple and complex. And then you can think about the inventory. This is kind of a fixed inventory size as well. Elias was talking about that he wanted this idea of, for his game, where he had 9 different items that you could run around. And that's sort of why we're linking it to this bag, is that you start the game with, you have 2 pockets that you can hold things. Maybe we should talk about that. Where is this? Under here. This is sort of the pockets. Right here, this is your pockets. This is the pouch, and then these are your pockets. Like you have I have 2 pockets that you can put in some sort of common items, like a gem or a diamond, and that's all you can have. Is like you have an iron ingot and a diamond. That's all you can carry until you get a bigger, because then which is really interesting concepts. That's great. So it's like it's a good learning experience to learn, to watch all these videos in the background, and then you can see all these sort of files, and we created. We worked with a lot of his tile map system. and we sort of redefined our tiles to be a little bit more, what we're thinking about as our tiles, that we have this tile type that just has a position. We switched these to N3s because we weren't concerned about it, but then they have these ideas that, we didn't follow through exactly what he was working on, but they have this movement cost and edges and various things like that. We're basically trying to figure out how to get our tiles to the least amount of data, because with the least amount of data, then we can have millions of tiles and millions of characters. And that's kind of what we think about our player as well, where we just have this. This is kind of a new, like the entity player system, but now it has this person data. The person data just has the. This is kind of, they have this idea of the. Well, this is the known data, so we're kind of trying to link in their data, and then their rank in the game. The rank is actually a part of a system that's going to be this, where you can actually be a civilian, a peasant, and this is based on your rank within that specific town or area. So it's like you have a civilian, peasant, artisan, merchant, guard, royalty, and king is like, we think about this as the ruler as well, but king is a good example. And then you have this relationship status. We talked about a little bit about, like, and this is kind of what he was working on, but it's kind of like, oh, hey, it's really cool. And then we also have this idea, well, family is part of this relationships, but which he included, but then we're thinking, well, family is actually, we are thinking about our family as in, well, we don't get along with our family as well, so sometimes they're allies, sometimes they're foes, sometimes they're friends. And then also, too, we come up here, you can also see this concept of that these are subjects, which are kind of talking about different people. So we talked about the subject of the princess, that, we want to go rescue the princess. Well, who are we going to rescue? The human princess and the human king. We probably won't include a lot of races, but it sort of was thinking about in terms of futuristic ideas of giving us more room. That right now we're just focused on the human side of things, and then we are Inglewood, from the rap song, Inglewood, what's up? But anyway, so we have this idea of this town name of Inglewood, and then it has a ruler, and then the family child, which is sort of linked to the ruler, is a sort of a subject as well. So you have the subject of Inglewood, and then it talks about the ruler of Inglewood. So it's Queen Amidala, Queen Haven. There we go. Some sort of queen that's the ruler of Inglewood, and then over here we have the King McHaven. King McHaven is the ruler of the humans. Why would I not be? It's my game. Anyway, so it's just like these ideas of subjects, and then Inglewood is and then you can see the ruler of Inglewood is, so it's like this town of Inglewood is ruled by the queen. So it's kind of thinking about trying to put this data. These are all enums, or sort of, it's kind of, a lot of this is what Alias was thinking about, but you can sort of see we've been looking at that, and here's his cutscene sort of ideas. You can see, he has this intro, and these are like, these are kind of like little like things that he was working on, and we're kind of thinking about them as well, for a lot, and sort of building off. And then we have this, they have this concept of kind of going back, so like here's the concept of going back to the person, like this person. We want to include this person data is just their name, their first name, last name, instead of the rank. But then when we get the display, I think that's part of the person data. We want to know, does that, so we ask the requester, so your character asks the person, who this person is. And if we don't know who the person is, then we have this concept, getting back to this concept that they're returning none. And then if the rank is valid, then we return the rank. If this is sort of like, do we know the name? And then, do we know the rank as well? We could also say, is rank known? Is rank known? Or are they just going, and then it's like, oh, it's just, King McHaven is right here, and then if like they don't know the rank, then we just return McHaven, or whoever this person is. And then the requester is, we talked about that, Kevin Axe, or whoever your character, or your name here. So we do have this concept of coming up with a character that you can create as well. which sort of runs the logic of, and this is kind of the RPG aspect of too, of where you're coming in, the Kevin Axe or whatever, Bob Steele, the rogue, is asking this character what his name is, and the requester is sort of like, is known as like this idea of this dictionary of, does this person know who this person is? So this is your is known right here. So the requester is known as this, and that's kind of how you program a little, and this is sort of like this list of data elements that the person data. And these are structs now, so I'm kind of thinking about the save system as structs, and then also the subject. The subject is sort of like this idea of we talked about the ideas of just their subject, and then there's also too is like there's like a rank required. We've been thinking like the traits, and a lot of this stuff is like thinking about soldiers or military. It's like this subject is based on, you have to be a guard to know this information. It's kind of like that. So, this information got out. Well, only guards knew about this information, so we now know that a guard is dirty. And then it's just the subject index is sort of like the idea of the subject. It's just a stringified version. And then here's some sort of just different ideas. He talked about this continuer, and these are constants, so we can sort of talk about the subject as when you click on the choice, you just click through. And then here's more of a dialogue, and then we actually, this is actually a completely separate system from our I think it's the personality manager. So it's like this person, and here's the personality. I didn't think about all this code but it's been a lot of work. So then we have talk about this this idea. These are character. This is like the personality of the character, which is actually now part of this like personality of the game data. So you now can see that here's the save data, which includes a lot of this is meaning this is like old game data, but is the game started, is the player ready, what the game time is, what's various aspects. But here we have this this is the discovery data, like have you discovered the mouse button, have you discovered, a lot of that is sort of being saved as well. But here's that personality. I meant to go to show that, but then here's the personality of this is like, is it set up? This is what should determine whether or not that we should have access to this. A lot of this is like we should probably just make these classes, because structs are kind of like for the ECS system, but it's like we really like the scriptable objects, but it's like at this we do like the scriptable objects, and they really are nice, but and we have this brand new we maybe should show that a little quick, because it's pretty awesome. But anyway, so this just comes through, sets the rescue target, sets the gender. These are just sort of like, I know these are really basic and it seems kind of dumb, but these are kind of just subjects and ideas of an RPG to sort of, get interactive and thoughts going of that you would want to set up a lot of this is like, we're thinking about these things in terms of what we can create that sort of gives, a lot of this is like, like the gender is pretty set, like, I get that, people are like, well, I'm whatever gender, but it's like really in our game there's only, there's 3 genders right now, and we could add more, whatever genders, we could add a lot more genders, but right now we're just sort of focused on this. But it's like, whatever your gender is, you still want to say, do you want to get married to it? And this is sort of like, we also have this like marriage goal, right? Like, do you want to get married? Who to? Sort of, and it's just like meant to be subjects and ideas for how to drive gameplay. And it's like, and we're sort of trying to create these characters, and that's also too is like we're trying to think about these in terms of that you have this enemy target that is like trying to rescue a friend, or family member, right? A family member has been taken by the king. He's a male, and he wants to get and his ambition is for revenge or something. So it's like he wants to rescue a family member. He's a male and he wants revenge. So that's our bad character that we, our main target, our main enemy of the game. And then so this is kind of like this idea of how he gets set up as well, and what motivates characters. So it's like this is kind of like the the talking points of the game, of how to get the game started and how to get these ambitions and things to work out. And these are sort of set ideas, and then whether or not it's a scriptable object or the struct. And then here, this is changeable. Like this sort of is the if we look at all this, we talked a little bit about this. There's this idea from the game settings point of view. Like you can go into the game settings and say is changeable here as well somewhere. So it's like, and this is sort of like some of these you will have, yeah, right here, can change personality. So some of this, and this is like this is one of the also the reasons why I wanted to switch to 2019.2 or 2019, because now we get access to the new. I'm not sure how these new .NET 3. Or 4.5 or whatever the .NET version that uses the new C# languages. So these are really cool. And then here's this can change personality. So a lot of this is like, this is going to be included in a JSON file, or it could be included as the game options, and it's sort of going to be the way to sort of, you can play through the game once, or you can sort of, as I think you should, like right now we're going to think of like you can't change it. That's kind of where we're designing this. This is our default can't change. Is how we're designing it, but then you can go back and say, no, I want to be able to change my personality. And it's like, it's sort of like the personality is like not meant to be like a hard-coded thing, but it's sort of like their ambitions or goals, which is kind of, and it sort of gives, and it's kind of like, and I talked about at the start of, that's kind of where we, in developing a character, we want to just ask for just really we just, it's like when you sort of play Zelda or something, it's like some sort of RPG, there's a couple really cool examples where it's just like, and that's kind of what we want the game to be, is this example where you just like, you click new game, and then you just go, and it's like this RPG focused environment where it's not like, hey, you're going to create a character and you're going to do all these things. It's like the game is just active right away, and we think that's another goal of where we want to go. So because we don't think that we do think that it's like, this is kind of, and this is why the start of this world was like this, dropping this character in the world, and maybe he's wearing this cloak and things, and you don't know who he is. And that's like, I've seen a few RPGs start that way, where it's like and then you're like, well, what's your name, kid? And then it's like, you type in your name. And then it's like, and then part of that too is like, we're thinking about doing this idea where you give them their first name, but then your last name is sort of predetermined by the game, or you can sort of pick and choose from a list of names, and then that's going to be the family name of the crest of the the characters, and then how that links to all these people could be added later to the game. So it's like, but we might allow you to choose, like, McHaven Shield Maiden is going to be your character's name, and that's how you want to decide. Well, you can't choose that because it's going to be my name in the game. But, that whole Shield Maidens are going to be this entire family name of characters that might be running around in the game. And then you're, Kevin, you can say, oh, I'm Kevin, Feige or something. Or there's a really awesome, what was it, what's that dude's name from Prison Break? He was kind of a bad guy, but he just had this really awesome name. It was like, or like Peter Baelish or something. We'd be talking about Peter Baelish. A lot of our design. Anyways, there's this Kevin Feige is also another. Well, and then there's, but yeah, Prison Break. What's that? It was like Secret Service dude. It was like I can't remember his name. Paul Kellerman, yeah, there he is. So there's Paul Kellerman, which is like this really awesome like character that just, and then it's like, so it's like the Kellerman, that's just, it's like, it's just this really cool name. And this is like, this is a really awesome character that's just like Owen. So he has this, starts out as Owen something or other, and then he has this, spoiler alerts, and then he has this, all these aliases, and then he's like, U.S., Special Forces, and then he's like, and then he's, the company, but then he is also he has a sister, so it's like a lot of this cool stuff. So it's like this, and that's kind of like what we're thinking about, is like these really, this is all from Prison Break, by the way, which is just a really, it's amazing, Lincoln Barrows and Michael Schofield. And it's funny because I saw those guys on Legends of Tomorrow, and then I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then I went back, and me and my dad started watching the show, but then it was just like, oh man, this is really awesome. That just like, um, I finally watched through the entire thing, and it's pretty amazing. Anyways, this is kind of like where you get this sort of really deep background of these characters, and that's what we're trying to, and one of his, obviously, one of his motivations might be his sister. So that's kind of one of the things. So, anyways, it goes through some of his history there, and uh, yeah. So then he has these aliases that he worked as sales rep, and he's anyways this really awesome undercover. Comes, anyway, so that's part of this idea here. Where we're at in terms of video. Oh, this is over an hour. Wow, I better end this video here. Anyway, so that's a huge overview. Sorry, it kind of went on for a little longer than even I'm used to, but we're sort of getting to this really interesting idea where it's like we have, we're still kind of getting this 18 together. We feel like, there's a lot of things missing. This why it hasn't sort of put out there. And quite a few bugs that we need to sort of clean up and focus on. But we are sort of not forcing ourselves, but we are working on a lot of really cool things in the background that will hopefully make it into the game someday, and then and that's part of explaining why some of these things are unknown, and the RPG aspects we want to get to, because that's kind of really the fun aspects of not just creating a game that you can sort of interact with, but then also creating this really in-depth story and background, and that's one of the focuses we've been talking a little bit about. Anyway, so my name is Micaiah Stevens for Haven Studios, so thanks very much. I should probably end this video because it seems like it's over an hour. Thank you very much. You have a great take care. Is it really over? This is crazy. Sorry. Sounds like me.